coaching in the conference finals. Kerr's been 20-7. That's his record in this round. The best win percentage by any head coach in the conference finals history, with at least 15 games of experience. So we've gotten the perspectives of my friends, my analysts here on set, but I want to go to San Francisco and get some insight from our reporters, Tim McMahon and Kendra Andrews, joining us now. Tim, I want to start with you here. What stood out to you? What caught your attention about what Mavs head coach Jason Kidd said about Steve Kerr?
Well, first of all, Malika, I hope we're still friends. But when they asked Kidd about playing Steve Kerr, he goes, yeah, I remember. He played with Michael Jordan. He was hitting. So this is Jason Kidd, who will tell you the Mavericks championship team was Dirk and, quote, a bunch of burgers. So he knows about fitting in with a superstar. And that's what he said. Steve Kerr hit big shots. He fits so well with superstars. And look, Mavericks fans, they remember it wasn't just with Michael Jordan, with Tim Duncan. You go back to the 2003 West Finals. Game 6, closeout game in Dallas. Steve Kerr, 4-4 from 3. Hit 3 big ones in the fourth quarter. And Jay Kidd said Steve Kerr doesn't get his just due for being a great role player. He was a winner then, and that's obviously carried over into his coaching career.
Tim, thank you. Kendra, I want to get the opinion from the flip side of all of this. What did Steve Kerr say about Jason Kidd?
Yeah, Malika, well, what Steve Kerr said that he and Jason Kidd have in common is that they both inherited teams with an already established core. And he says it's a lot easier to implement changes when you're working with a group that already has some continuity. Now, where he said they differ, particularly where Jason Kidd differs, is that a lot of players turned coaches were role players, not Hall of Famers. Steve said not a lot of superstar top 25 guys like Jason go on to do this coaching for a very long time. But Jason, he's different. As for what Steve remembers playing Jason from their days on the court, he said that he remembers his speed and his force that Jason played with. Maybe it wasn't translated well over TV, but you felt it when you were on the court with him. But Steve then joked, luckily, I wasn't the one who had to defend him.
Kendra, thank you so much. Bringing it back here on set in Chicago. Have fun at Game 1. We have our very own head coach joining our set. JB, I got to do it. John Blair, Bickerstaff. And JB, you've had to game plan for games against both Steve Kerr's teams and Jason Kidd's teams. What stands out to you about how they approach the game and what they're going to do tonight in Game 1?
Just how dynamic they are. They're both dynamic, but they're completely different in how they get it done. If you take Golden State, for example, Golden State gets done by movement, right? It's not only ball movement, but the two guys that you're chasing around the floor, and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, are two of the most lethal guys offensively, but you don't get to just stare at them and see where they are. You have to go out and find them. You have to chase them. You know, you got big guys that have to be alert to their movement. And then with Luka, it's a lot of pick and roll, right? So it's more stationary offense than the movement, but you got a guy who's such a dynamic playmaker that he can make all the reads, and he just waits for the defense to make a mistake. And then if you don't make a mistake, he just scores it himself. So they're both dynamic. You can't say one is better than the other because obviously they're both capable of getting it done.
I'm sorry, I looked over there for a second because Richard almost just broke our table, so that's cool. If we're talking about game planning for Steph Curry and Luka Doncic, two of the most potent players in the game today, what stands out to you about what adjustments they're going to need to make?
Well, that's the fun part of the playoffs, right? And that's why you get into coaching and try to figure out, can you match wits with that guy that's across from you? Both of them are, like I said, extremely dynamic. With Luka, you know where he's going to be. Luka's going to be in front of you. He's going to have the ball in his hands. They're going to bring multiple people to play pick and roll with him, and then they're going to space the ball, space the floor around him. With Steph, he's going to be all over the place. And I think that's where he's so difficult is he's going to be on the baseline sometimes. He's going to be handling it sometimes. He's going to be trailing. He's going to fill the corner. So he's more difficult to locate. But obviously, they're both capable of getting the job done with the ball in their hands.
Richard, why the stank face?
Well, because that little spin step back three is disgusting. Like that. Like we just gloss over it because he does it all the time. We don't see many guys do that specific move. Steph does it. I think we've seen James do it, James Harden do it. And I'd even say like Kevin Durant. But that little in the corner, post up, step back spin like that, you can't guard it, and he does it so effortlessly. Like there's just nothing you can do in those moments.
Zach, who is tougher to defend in your estimation, the Mavericks or the Warriors?
As a team, I think the Warriors just are so different that it takes teams. You can see in playoff series, it takes a game or two to get used to playing against them. After playing, you can talk about this.
Oh, yeah.
You guys had trouble. Those first two games are like boom.
Worst two losses combined in NBA Finals history. Like our game 1 and game 2 combined total score. Because it just, we had cruised through the Eastern Conference, and then you get there, and they're a different monster. If you're in the Western Conference, you get them 4 times a year. If you're in the Eastern Conference, you only get them once or twice. So it's like, even then, those first 2 games are literally just trying to figure it out.
Just trying to get your sea legs.
Yeah.
But individually, I mean, Luka is just a killer.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do with him. He's too big. He can see every pass. And to the point you just made, the hallmark of a superstar is he can beat you with shots that you're supposed to live with as a defense, with floaters, with step backs. He can make enough of them that you'll still lose the game.
Yeah, and when you think about Golden State, right, Coach JB was right. You talk about the player movement, the ball movement. In order to beat them, you also got to have IQ on the floor. Like, the first step of defense is communication. If you're not communicating on those switches or those back picks or those pin downs, whatever the case may be, you're dead bird, tall grass. So that's what I saw with the Memphis Grizzlies. Like, it was so many times I'm like, how did y'all miscommunicate this switch? This is Steph Curry. Why is Jaren Jackson Jr. not up on the screen when he's supposed to be when the Steph Curry is coming off the pick? But when you look at Luka, he giving me that LeBron James type vibe, where it's like, okay, how can I actually guard him? Do I send a double team? You really can't, because he's so good at picking the defense apart on time, on target passes. So it's going to be a fun series. That's why I'm not picking either one of them.
JB, when you were coaching against Luka,
Is that allowed?
It is allowed.
Yeah.
He makes his own rules. I just, it's Perk's world. We all just live in it. But when you were coaching against Luka this year, would you say that you saw the potential for them to not only make it out of the first round for the first time, but push all the way through to the Western Conference Finals?
We played them late. We played them early in the year, and we were able to beat them down in Dallas, and then we played them late, and they beat us in Cleveland. And you saw the trajectory and how they were trending. You saw that, obviously they talked about his conditioning earlier in the year, and he addressed that, and to where he is now, to be able to have to carry a team. And I think with his skill set, the way that they improve defensively, I think that's one of the things that we're missing here too, is we're talking a lot of offense. But if you look at these conference finals, the defense is going to be what gets it done. We saw it last night. Yep. Like, you're going to have to defend, and they've improved on the defensive end of the
Man,
floor.
I can't wait for this game. It is the first time, by the way, that the Mavs and the Warriors have faced off in the playoffs since that We Believe upset. So this is going to be fun. JB, thank you so much for joining Richard, Dolores, and company. And I
have to slide those puppies. One thing we know, the way that the Dallas Mavericks play, they're going to search out. It's not about the bigs. It's going to be who is the weakest link defensively. And I'm not disrespecting Steph, because he's got a ton better. He's just not ready for that smoke of Luka Doncic.
And look, we can be critical of players.
Yeah, we could be critical.
No, don't interrupt me. When I'm talking about Steph has improved. A guy that can get steals. You can be a great team defender, a great communicator, great individually. Look, that's not his thing. That's not a knock. But we do know that they will target him. Go back to game 7, 2016. We did everything we could to put Steph in that pick and roll so that Kyrie had a one-on-one matchup with Steph. So Luka, and we watched him point, you get out, you come up here. But it's with great players. It could be LeBron James. It could be, it could be Jason Tatum, KD. They try and get the matchups that they want, and teams try and dance around it. But Steph is going to be guarding Luka, and they're going to try as hard as they can to do it. And I don't think there's anything to stop them.
We know that's going to happen. You guys did it. I always thought when you guys did it, it was never because Steph was a bad defensive player. It was because everyone else
was a really good defender.
An amazing defensive player.
Yes.
And Steph, he moves as Perk calls them, the puppies. He always moves the puppies. He's got his arms out. He gets his hands on the ball. His problem is just he's the puppies. His problem is that he's just kind of skinny, and guys like Luka can beat him up in ways that regular point guards can't. And that's what's going to happen in this series. And by the way, the Warriors' issue is it's not just going to be Steph. It's going to be Poole even more than Steph, that Luka's going to say, where is he? Bring him to me.
And what you do in that situation is you can bring up both of those guys. You can bring up Poole and Clay into a screen and roll, and it's like, one of y'all going to have to guard him. One of y'all going to have to guard him. And then after that situation, now they might send double teams, but we saw the way that Dallas shot the ball. That's not exactly the answer. But you have to pick a poison. But to your point, it is not that he is not a quality defender. It's just that the other guys on that roster were elite. And the last thing, if you can take some starch out of his offense by beating him up, getting him in foul trouble, that was an old school NBA thing. If you have 2 fouls, if you have 1 foul, if you have 3 fouls, we're going to go at you because we know you're not going to foul. And if you do foul, then you're going to put yourself on the bench. So they're going to go at him, hopefully to take some starch out of that movement offense.
Well, and we saw that a little bit in the Memphis series. Memphis, when Steph started getting 1-2 fouls early on, they started going at him more and more and more. And those stacked up a little bit. But I've been watching, ESPN's been on all morning. All the shows have talked about Steph versus Luka. What's this going to look like? So I want to do something a little bit different. And Zach, I want to start with you here. Richard, I'm going to compliment you. You did a great job breaking all that down yesterday. Stop that.
Wow, I didn't want to see that.
No
one told me I was going to have to see that.
Right, there we go.
Nope, that needs to stop now. All right, I want to take this a different direction.
Please.
Who is a different direction from that? Who is the one player in this series that's not named Luka, not named Steph, that's going to have the biggest impact on it?
So I'm going to cheat and pick 2, but you can really pick either one. To me, it's Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole, because the Warriors, to win this series, I think they're going to need that blender offense to be at full throttle. The Mavericks are good enough. Well, first of all, Luka's good enough. He's going to score on you. Their defense is good enough. They're going to take away a lot of the easy stuff. The Warriors are going to have to get the hard stuff, the fancy stuff, the handoffs, the split cuts where 2 and 3 of their guards are running apart and coming together and flying in all different directions, and the handoffs are flying. I think they're going to need to have a lot of games where 2 of the 3 guards, Steph, Poole, and Klay, have really good games, or all 3 of them have solid games. They can't afford bad games from those guys. I think they're going to need to look like the offense that just obliterated the Nuggets, and not the offense that looked kind of confused and scattered at times against the Grizzlies.
Yeah, okay, really quickly. I'm not going to give you 2. I'm going to give you 1, but I want to go back really quickly and talk about Steph and Luka. Hey, I know we're talking about Steph not being able to guard. Luka's not going to be able to guard anybody out there either. So let's just establish that really quickly. Now, the most important player to me is Draymond Green. For this reason. 1, to your point, he's got to look to score. And it doesn't mean that he's got to be aggressive to score. To me, he's got to look for shots. He's got to at least, he's going to get open looks all night. And I know the Draymond. I've seen the Draymond in Game 7. I know what he's capable of. So I want to see Draymond be aggressive, because that's going to open up things for Steph. That's going to open up things for Jordan Poole. That's going to open up things for Klay Thompson. And so for me, if he gets in foul trouble, and if you want to have him guarding Luka, then you could be in problem. And then it just, to me, Draymond is going to be so important from what he does on the defensive end. If he gets in trouble guarding Luka, that's going to hurt their offense, right? So there's just a lot of chess pieces that's going to go, and Draymond's the center of that.
You know what? I'm going to roll with Spencer Dinwiddie. Right, if Spencer Dinwiddie, have one of these series where he could average 20 plus, which he's capable of doing, I think the Dallas Mavericks win this series for the simple fact that we know what Luka is going to bring to the table. Bronson has shown us that he's a bona fide second option, how consistent he's been throughout the playoffs and the play of him even when Luka was out. But if Spencer Dinwiddie could come out, Spencer Dinwiddie could come in off the bench and do his thing, I think the Dallas Mavericks will win this series in great fashion. But if he doesn't produce and he doesn't average 20 points a night, I think they're going to get sent home.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I know it's fair.
This is going to be a test of how the role players play on the road as well. We saw that drastic up and down in the Suns series early on for players like Spencer Dinwiddie, Jalen Brunson. They brought it at home, but early on they struggled on the road. And let me tell you, I know I grew up in Oracle, so I'm kind of a little bit biased toward the old arena. Chase Center is finding its way. We were there the other day.
It's getting better.
It's getting better. It's an intelligent crowd. It's a tough place to play.
It's getting better.
All right, still to